That you are imperfect is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you are human. And more importantly, it is a sign that you still have more potential within you. Maybe you know what your mountain is. Maybe it is addiction, weight, relationships, jobs, motivation, or money. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's a vague sense of anxiety, low self-esteem, fear, or general discontentment that seems to bleed out onto everything else. 64,000 is the median number of words per book. Average person reads about 200 words per minute. Simple math will tell us that is one book in 320 minutes. To accomplish this in 7 days, numbers say you would have to read for 45 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button, like, comment, and share. Enjoy. Welcome to the Book of the Week series. Every week, as I read another amazing title, I share it with the world. My name is Igor S.F. Walker. Today, we look at The Mountain is You, Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery by Brianna Weiss. So how about you slow down and relax? Reduce all that noise for just a bit. Make that choice and decide to listen. In this video, we look at the Ultimate Seeker's Guide for those brave enough to face their true north and then take their power back. We look at why we self-sabotage when we do it and how to stop doing it for good. Stick around till the end. I will share with you some tools I haven't used that will help you tremendously in this game of life. Discover a way to find out what actually motivates you, what innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. I will share some tools to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. Much like nature, life is very often working in our favor, even when it seems like we are only being faced with adversity, discomfort, and change. When we can no longer rely on our coping mechanisms to help distract us from the problems in our lives, it can feel as though we have hit rock bottom. The reality is that this sort of awakening is what happens when we finally come to terms with the problems that have existed for a long time. The breakdown is often just the tipping point that precedes the breakthrough. A moment a star implodes before it becomes a supernova. Your mountain is the block between you and the life you actually want to live. Facing it is also the only path to your freedom and becoming. You are here because a trigger showed you to your wound, and your wound will show you to your path, and your path will show you to your destiny. The mountain that stands in front of you is the calling of your life, your purpose for being here, and your path finally made clear. One day, this mountain will be behind you. But who you become in the process of getting over it, that will stay with you always. In the end, it is not the mountain that you must master, but yourself. On the surface, self-sabotage seems masochistic. It appears to be a product of self-hatred, low confidence, or lack of willpower. In reality, self-sabotage is simply the presence of an unconscious need that is being fulfilled by the self-sabotaging behavior. We must go through a process of deep psychological excavation. We must pinpoint the traumatic event, then release unprocessed emotions, find healthier ways to meet our needs, reinvent our self-image, and then develop principles such as emotional intelligence and resilience. It is no small task, and yet it is the work that all of us must do at one point or another. Self-sabotage is actually a coping mechanism. Self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs, and often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. Self-sabotage comes from irrational fear. Sometimes our most sabotaging behaviors are really the result of long-held and unexamined fears we do have about the world and ourselves. Perhaps it is the idea that you are unintelligent, unattractive, or disliked. Perhaps it is the idea of losing a job, taking an elevator, or committing to a relationship. These beliefs become attachments over time. Now, in order to reconcile this, you have to begin to challenge these pre-existing ideas and then adopt new ones. Once you begin to really question and observe these pre-existing beliefs, you begin to see how wrapped and illogical they were all along, not to mention distinctly holding you back from your ultimate potential. The first step in healing anything is taking full accountability. It is no longer being in the denial about the honest truth of your life and yourself. The greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. It is to be able to state the problem plainly and in a straightforward manner. When you decide you truly do not ever want to feel a certain way again, you set out on a journey of self-awareness, learning, and growth that has you radically reinvent who you are. We often misattribute these behaviors to lack of intelligence, willpower, or capability. Now, this is usually not the case. Self-sabotage is not a way we hurt ourselves. It is actually a way we try to protect ourselves. Self-sabotage is when you have two conflicting desires. One is conscious and the other one is unconscious. You know how you want to move your life forward, and yet you are still, for some reason, stuck. Instead of perfection, focus on progress. Instead of having something done perfectly, focus on just getting it done. From there, you can edit, you can build, you can grow, and you can develop it into exactly what your vision is. But if you do not get started, you will never arrive. So get clear on what happened. Validate your feelings. Determine a course correction. We are making decisions based on how we imagine people view our lives, not how they actually are. And this is not only inaccurate, but it is also very unhealthy. To overcome our attachment to pride, we have to start to see ourselves more wholly and then also more honestly. People will respect you far more if you can acknowledge that you are an imperfect person, just like everybody else, learning, adapting, and trying your best. How often do we not even attempt something because we are afraid to look bad or to fail immediately? When we fail out of negligence, we do take a step back when we fail because we are attempting new feats. We actually take one step closer to what will work. Unhealthy habits are the most common way that people sabotage their own success. By maintaining habits that are actively keeping them away from their goals. So, define health on your own terms. What does a healthy life look like for you? How would it make you feel? And what would you be doing? It is true that so much of our lives is shaped by the people we spend them with. And the company you keep is another common way that people self-sabotage. Certainly, you can think of some people in your life who actually stress you out, make you feel insecure, and yet keep you coming back for more. These relationships exist at the lighter end of the toxicity spectrum, but they are self-defeating nonetheless. The people you spend the most time with will shape your future irrevocably. And so, you must choose them wisely. So work on building a circle of people who actually support and inspire you, who have similar goals and enjoy spending time with you. You should leave a get-together feeling energized and inspired, not exhausted and angry. Slowly but genuinely rebuild your connections and then foster and care for them as much as you possibly can. Now, how to tell if you are in a self-sabotage cycle? You are more aware of what you do not want than what you do. You spend more time trying to impress people who do not like you than you spend with people who actually love you for who you are. You're putting your head in the sand. You care more about convincing other people you are okay than actually being okay. Your main priority in life is to be liked, even if that comes at the expense of being happy. You are more afraid of your feelings than anything else. You are blindly chasing goals without asking yourself why you want those things. You're treating your coping mechanisms as the problem. You value your doubt more than your potential. You are trying to care about everything. You are wanting and waiting for someone else to open the door, offer approval, or hand you the life you had been waiting for. You do not realize how far you have come. You're not the person you were 5 years ago. You evolve as your self-image does, so make sure that it is an accurate one. Give yourself credit for everything that you have overcome, that you never thought you would, and then everything you've built that you never thought you could. You have come so much further than you think. And you actually are so much closer than you realize. So there is a difference between understanding why we self-sabotage and the act of no longer self-sabotaging. This means that once we understand the root and purpose of the behavior, we adjust it, we adapt. Overcoming self-sabotage is not just a matter of understanding why you're holding yourself back. It is actually being able to take action in the direction that you actually want and need to, even if it is initially uncomfortable and triggering. Very important part of the process, because you are essentially going to be confronting the exact emotions you have been trying to avoid. The first feeling you're likely to confront is resistance. This is that generalized sense of being stuck, or your body feeling so tense that it is almost hard, as though you're hitting a wall. This feeling is usually a masking emotion that is preventing you from actually being aware of the sensations beneath it, which are more acute. The most important lesson to overcome self-sabotage is to learn to disconnect action from feeling. The truth is that you can have a vision of what you want, know that it is undoubtedly right for you, and simply not feel like taking the action required to pursue the path. You may feel as though you are worthless, but you most certainly are not. You may feel as though there is no hope, but there most certainly is. You may feel as though everyone dislikes you, but that is probably a gross over-exaggeration. You may think everyone is judging you, but that is only a misinterpretation. Most importantly, you may feel as though you cannot take action when you most certainly can. You simply do not feel willing because you're not used to it. It is essential that you learn to take action before you feel like doing it. Taking action builds momentum, and then it creates motivation. And these feelings will actually not come to you spontaneously. You have to generate them. You have to inspire yourself. You have to move. You have to simply begin and allow your life and your energy to reorient itself to prefer the behaviors that are going to move your life forward, not the ones that are keeping you held back. On the surface, it seems as though the thing that triggers our emotional response is the problem. It is not. The problem is that we do not know what to do with how we feel, and therefore do not have all the emotional processing skills that we need. Anger is a beautiful, transformative emotion. It is mischaracterized by its shadow side, aggression, and therefore we try to resist it. It is healthy to be angry. And anger can also show us important aspects of who we are and what we care about. For example, anger shows us where our boundaries are. Anger also helps us identify what we find to be unjust. Sadness is the normal and correct response to the loss of something we very much love. This is an emotion that often comes up in the aftermath of a disappointment. Sadness only becomes problematic when we do not allow ourselves to go through the natural phases of grief. Sadness does not release itself all at once. In fact, we often find that it happens in waves, some of which strike us at unexpected times. Guilt tends to affect us more for what we did not do than what we did do. In fact, people who struggle the most with guilt are the people who are not actually guilty of something terrible. People who commit heinous acts, they actually tend to not feel much remorse. The fact that you feel bad, that you could have done wrong by someone, is actually a good sign in itself. Now, embarrassment is what we feel when we know that we did not behave in a way that we are proud of. Other people can never make us feel as embarrassed as we make ourselves feel. When you are truly and completely confident that you are doing the best you can with what you have in front of you, then you stop feeling embarrassed all the time. When we do not process the feeling of embarrassment, it tends to turn into something far, far darker. Now, jealousy is a cover-up emotion. It actually presents as anger or judgment, when in reality it is sadness and self-dissatisfaction. When we resent people, it is often because they did not live up to the expectation of them that we had in our minds. Resentment in some ways is like a projected regret. Instead of trying to show us what we should change, it seems to want to tell us what other people should change. Now, when we release the ideas we have about who they should be, then we can see them for who they are and the role they are meant to play in our lives. Much like jealousy, regret is also another way that we show ourselves not what we wish we could have done in the past, but what we absolutely need to create going forward. The truth is that most people regret what they did not do a lot more than they ever regret what they did do. When we cannot stop returning to fearful thoughts, it is not always because there's an actual threat in front of us. Often it is because our internal response system and systems are underdeveloped and sidelined by trauma. When we are in a state of fearful thinking, it doesn't really matter what we are afraid of. The thought process follows us from problem to problem to problem. The only true way to get over chronic fear is actually to get through it. Instead of trying to battle, resist, and avoid what we cannot control, we can learn to simply shrug and say, and if that does happen, it happens. Within our self-sabotaging behaviors lies incredible wisdom. Not only can they tell us how and what we have been traumatized by, they can also show us what we really need. Embedded within each self-sabotaging behavior is actually the key to unlock it, if only we can just understand it first. Now that you're starting to pay attention to your internal cues, it is important to know how to listen to yourself and then respond in real time. If you do not have to consistently fixing your behaviors and your errors, you have to learn how to process and interpret your feelings in real time. The little voice within us is just that, little. It doesn't scream. It doesn't panic. It doesn't pump your body with adrenaline to get your attention. It is not angry. It is the wave of clarity that overcomes you in the middle of your darkest moments, in which something tells you it is going to be all right. It's not all as bad as you think. Everything is okay. Your gut instinct functions to make things better, whereas your imagination can often make things a lot worse. Your instincts aren't actually feelings. They are responses. If you do find yourself particularly drained after spending time with someone, or you are feeling like you do not want to see them again, that is your instinct. Instinct is not a feeling. You don't have an instinct that you are sad today. Instinct is quickly moving yourself out of the harm's way without having to think about it. Our thoughts change our feelings. Our thoughts do not change our instincts. Your instinct doesn't exist to ensure you feel comfortable and ecstatic at all hours of the day. It moves you towards what you're meant to do because it actually shows you where your interests, your skills, and your desires intersect. First and foremost, understand that your instinct can serve you immensely in the present moment. Your first reaction to something is very often the wisest reaction because your body is using all the subconscious information you have logged away to inform you about something before your brain has an opportunity to second guess it. Intuitive thoughts usually come to you once, maybe twice. And they induce a feeling of understanding. Intruding thoughts, they tend to be persistent and they induce a feeling of panic. Intuitive thoughts often sound loving, while invasive thoughts sound scared. Intuitive thoughts usually come out of nowhere. Invasive thoughts are usually triggered by external stimuli. Intuitive thoughts open your mind to other possibilities. Invasive thoughts close your heart and they make you feel stuck or condemned. Intuitive thoughts, they solve problems. Invasive thoughts, they create them. Intuitive thoughts help you understand what you are thinking and feeling. Invasive thoughts assume what other people are thinking and feeling. Intuitive thoughts show you how to actually respond. Invasive thoughts, they demand that you react. We remember the last 2 or 3 embarrassing things we have done, and then we imagine that others are thinking about them actively as well. Now, can you recall the last 2 or 3 embarrassing things someone else did? Of course you can't, because you are not paying attention. So often in life, our biggest anxiety comes not from what's actually happening, but how we think about what is happening. Now, in that, we reclaim our emotional freedom and power. Rather than spending your life trying to identify the next thing to worry about and then overcome, learn to move into a new pattern of thinking in which you do recognize that you do not need to balance out the bad with the good to live a full and fair life. Stability and wholeness, health and vitality are your birthright. You are allowed to have everything you want. You are permitted to be at peace. Now, what is not right for you will actually never remain in your life, and not because there are forces beyond us navigating the minutiae of everyday lives. What is not right for you, you will not remain with it, and it will not remain with you because deep down you know it is not right. You're the one who eventually lets go, sees reality and walks away. You are the one resisting. You are the one holding back. You are the one concoctionating healing fantasies about how great it will be when you for something wrong to finally be right. Healing your mind It's not the same thing as healing your body. When you're physically wounded, you often go through a progressive, linear repair. You get better until one day you're nearly back to where you were before. Healing your mind is completely different because you aren't returning to what you were before. You're actually gutting yourself and becoming someone entirely new. Healing is not a lovely ascension into comfort and wellness to be experienced once and forevermore. Healing yourself is the most uncomfortable, disruptive, and the most important thing you will ever do. Healing requires you to take an honest inventory of your grudges, of your aggressions, and the wheels of longing and fear you have been ignoring all this time. It requires you that you take stock of precisely what is wrong with your life so that you can work to make it right. It requires you to be completely honest about how you really feel. And then it requires you to actually feel it. Now, let's be clear, you're not going to suffer forever. This is not going to hurt for long, but to trick yourself into thinking that healing is getting progressively better until you have unraveled all of your past experiences and now can return to the version of yourself you were before you got hurt. Well, that is to miss the entire point completely. If you feel lost, or as though you do not know where you want your life to go next, or worse, fear that everything you have built could come crashing down, you don't need more inspiration. You don't need more positive thinking. When you have money problems, you need money principles. When you have relationship problems, you need relationship principles. When you have work problems, you need work principles. When you have life problems, you need life principles. Problems do not inherently make you a stronger person unless you change and adapt. The variable here is you. The common denominator is whether or not you shift your foundational perspective on the world and then how you behave within it. So begin with this. What do you value? What do you genuinely care about? What feelings do you want to experience in your life, and what makes you uneasy and gives you anxiety? Moving from self-sabotage to self-mastery sounds like an extraordinary transformation when in reality it is the natural course of coming to understand that you were responsible for holding your life back, and so you also are capable of moving it forward. Your life is just beginning. One day, the mountain that was in front of you will be so far behind you it will barely be visible in the distance. But who you become in learning to climb it, now that will stay with you forever. That is the point of the mountain. And there you have it. The mountain is you, transforming self-sabotage into self-mastery. Please do help out. It is easy. Simply like this video so more people can enjoy it. Share it too and spread the word. Do leave a comment and share your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel and stay up to date. And the link to this book is in the description below. So buy it and read. Never stop learning, especially learning about yourself and nature. So gift yourself by taking the free human needs test on my website and find out what actually motivates you. What innate human need is driving all of your decisions and your behavior. And if you feel you are ready to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management even further, then do check out my Master of Life Awareness program. The links are in the description below. Thank you. Love and respect.